UNSW's world-class cancer researchers have been hailed as the true heroes of the story behind the new Lowy Cancer Research Centre. In opening the centre, Prime Minister Kevin Rudd acknowledged both the academic excellence of the research team and the generosity of Frank Lowy and family, who contributed $10 million towards this world-class facility.
The great thing about this university is it's a celebration of academic excellence. Philanthropy plays a huge part in this. And what he has done, not just here, but in philanthropic works right across this city and right across this country, he has been there, supporting pioneering medical research.
But philanthropist Westfield Chief Frank Lowy typically played down his role.
All we did is sign a check. Fortunately, we have it, and we do it willingly, and we do it with pleasure. But the people that are work and do the job, they are the heroes.
The official opening was attended by the New South Wales Premier, Christina Keneally, representatives from both sides of politics, UNSW Chancellor David Gonski and Vice-Chancellor Professor Fred Hilmer.
And today we begin a new world-leading approach to cancer research and treatment here at UNSW. And you often think that the thousands of people who pass by here every day may have no appreciation of the extraordinary and often miraculous work that's going on inside these buildings.
The Lowy Cancer Research Centre is Australia's first facility bringing together researchers from childhood and adult cancer. A collaboration between UNSW and Children's Cancer Institute Australia, the Lowy Cancer Research Centre brings together 400 scientists under one roof.
If we are to be very good at only one thing, it will be our ability to translate our discoveries at the bench into new diagnostics and treatments for cancer.
What makes this building unique is the integration of adult and childhood cancer research at a single site, which provides uniquely fertile ground for cross-fertilising the research ideas from one group to the other, and then, as Phil has indicated, rapidly translating that into the clinic.
So what brings us together is not a sense of hopelessness, but a sense of determination and hope to do something about it, led by our great team of researchers and scientists and clinicians, and those who come after them as students.
3 cancer-fighting drugs developed by the centre will be in clinical trials this year.
It is with great pride and with great confidence, therefore, that I declare the Lowy Cancer Research Centre officially open.
Gone are the days of business being a pure money-making exercise. Today's smart business graduates want more. They want to make a difference to the world they live in. And so, at UNSW's Australian School of Business, the Social Endeavour Prize competition was born. This is launch night.
The Social Endeavour Prize has been assembled as a device to help the student community understand the not-for-profit sector. So specifically, we have a competition where 10 teams of 4 students are married up to a charity, and they will compete with the best fundraising concept.
Tonight, the competing students will absorb some words of wisdom.
I hope that for those of you participating in the Social Endeavour Prize, that the experience will challenge you and open your eyes to the opportunities within the not-for-profit sector, and also the important role that it plays in the Australian community. I leave you with a favourite saying of mine from the poet Goethe: "Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power and magic in it."
The students are also here to network. They have just 35 minutes to meet the charity representatives, gather face-to-face information and make that all-important first impression.
I'm at this Social Endeavour Prize launch because this is exactly what I want. I believe it's going to give me the consulting skills that I need, and I believe it will be able to give me the opportunity to actually apply what I know at university to a social project which will provide a greater impact in our society.
I've come here tonight to meet some people, get some ideas, and also ask, these organisations that have come along tonight, how they go about getting in income streams, where do they come from, the various the ways they go about making money, to then feed that out to the people who are in need.
At Wayside, we're extraordinarily reliant on funding for our operations because only 30% of our funding is from government. So nights like this actually get us together with innovative thinkers who could come up with ideas that would help with our operational funding. I've had the opportunity to meet these two men tonight. We've clicked. I think we're going to come up with some fantastic ideas together, and we'll get to it. So anyway, so what was your idea with the...
The students now have 6 weeks to shape up their pitches, taking their socially innovative learning outside the classroom and into real-world endeavours.
Hi, I'm Steve Offner, and I'm on the couch today with Associate Professor Andrew Lynch from the Gilbert and Tobin Centre of Public Law. Andrew, can you tell me a bit about the work that the centre does?
Sure, Steve. The centre has a number of projects. I suppose the thing that really defines public law is it's where law and politics intersect. It has a lot to do with the way in which Australians are governed today. And so one of our projects deals with the possibility of a human rights charter or a Bill of Rights in Australia. Another deals with terrorism laws and their impact on the community. Another again deals with the impact of law upon Indigenous communities.
Okay, and in this kind of work there's been some major changes in recent years, hasn't there, especially in the area of terrorism?
Yeah, there has been. In terrorism law, of course, before 9/11, Australia didn't have any national laws dealing with terrorism at all. Since then, the Commonwealth government's passed close to 50 in number. And so we've had to get our heads around this new challenge and what it means for law and the criminal justice system.
Mm-hmm. But how real is that threat of terrorism for Australia?
Well, I think we have to accept that the threat is as real as the government tends to present it to us. What the critical question, though, is how can we effectively respond to it in a proportionate and measured way so that we don't end up sacrificing civil liberties or changing the system through which criminals are normally dealt with. That's where the challenge for lawyers lies.
Mm-hmm. And do you think that's happening at the moment?
Yeah, I think so. I think for a while there, really the whole Western world was so enthralled to the threat of terrorism that a lot of excesses crept in, and America really led that by example. And Australia was certainly a part of that as well. But in more recent times, there's encouraging signs that a bit more proportionality is entering into how we should respond to these threats.
Mm-hmm. So how can we ensure that our rights aren't trodden on?
I suppose engagement is the easy answer for that, really. If people are concerned about what governments are doing, whether their right to privacy is being whittled away, whether there are restrictions on their ability to speak freely, or to protest against things that they don't like in their community, they should be in touch with their local members. They should tune in to political debates. And if they're not happy with developments, they should feed that back to politicians and say, these are steps that the community doesn't really support.
Mm. But this assumes that people are quite well informed about their rights and what's a good thing and what's not. Mm. Do you think people are in Australia?
I think that's a good question. I think a lot of people have sort of tended to just trust the government, that it knows what it's doing, and to not really critically examine a lot of the proposals that are put forward because they think, oh, well, this will keep me safe. Really, I think people do need to find out more. One way of doing that is to get in touch with civil liberties organisations or the Australian Muslim Civil Rights Advocacy Network. They've produced a great booklet, particularly for their communities in Australia, on the impact that ASIO and police can have upon people's lives. There's plenty of stories out there now. I think the Hanif affair in 2007 was a really signature moment, actually, to the wider community, that things had changed and they needed to get interested.
Mm-hmm. And recently we've had the change of government in the United States with the Obama administration. Do you see, or do you think that there will be a change in approach?
Yeah, well, already there has been, just in the last 24 hours, someone who's been at Guantanamo Bay for many years, their criminal trial, such as it was, which was before the discredited military commission system, which David Hicks was dealt with, this person's case has been moved to the federal court system. What this signals is that America is coming back into the fold of those nations who recognise that you have to deal strongly with terrorism, but you can do so within the rule of law, and you don't create an exceptional space in which you deal with the threat of terrorism. You need to confront it head on, but obviously within the system and its standards that applies throughout the community.
And if anyone out there is interested in taking up this area of study and becoming a lawyer dealing with public law, how would they go about that?
I suppose obviously they've got to get a law degree, and you can specialise through choosing electives which would deal with national security and human rights issues. That would be the way to do further study in that area. What you can then do with that, you could work as a criminal lawyer, you can represent people who are involved in these kind of crimes, or a job with government in the Attorney General's division. There's a security division as part of that, which is concerned with the oversight of all of these laws, or also community legal centres who have contributed really well to these debates.
Thank you, Andrew, and we'll see you next time on The Couch.
The design of cities and their urban surroundings plays an important role in maintaining the health of the people who live there. Traditionally, suburbia has been seen as a space where people can form safe communities and raise families. But is this really the case? Susan Thompson from the University of New South Wales Faculty for the Built Environment has been studying Australian urban design. She believes that in many ways it's failing the health test.
Poor urban planning affects people's health in lots of different ways. It's from the ways that cities are formed or shaped by designers, by planners. Particularly the sprawling suburbs can have very negative impacts on people's health. So if people are having to be in cars for long periods of each day, travelling to and from work, that means that they're not out and about walking. They're cooped up in their cars, often getting angry, getting stressed. So it's adverse on sort of physical health as well as psychological health.
As part of her holistic approach to designing healthy urban spaces, Susan takes a wide range of students from various disciplines out into the field to see what is healthy urban design.
As a medical student, I suppose we focus a lot on reactive health interventions. We've really got to move towards proactive health policy and health interventions, and I think healthy planning would be the biggest part of that, because it encourages people to get out and about, to cycle, to walk to work, and to do that minimum of 30 minutes of exercise a day and take responsibility for their own health.
So what is unhealthy urban design and how can it be changed?
It really privileges the car, and once you put people in cars, you stop them from exercising. They're driving cars, creating greenhouse gases, which adds to pollution, to noise.
Identifying what needs to change in the urban environment to make it healthier and safer allows planners, council and the community the chance to improve people's mental and physical health. In an attempt to make the urban environment in an inner city suburb friendlier and healthier, a community garden was established.
When people start to do gardening work, not only do they get physically active because they're working in the garden, they have the opportunities to plant their own food, so they've got access to fresh food. And when you start to talk about community gardens, gardens that are shared by different people, then they start to meet people.
A clean, reliable and well-integrated public transport system is a major part of establishing a healthy urban environment. Feeling safe in the city and suburbs is another vital aspect of improving urban planning and building a sense of community.
If environments aren't safe, if people don't perceive them to be safe, and if they're not safe in reality, then they won't go out into that space.
So what will make our urban environments healthier and more friendly?
So we've got to have health professionals talking to planners, talking to medical practitioners. We've got to have community workers talking together, working around all these sorts of issues.
I'm Matthew Walsmith. I'm a PhD candidate and lecturer in the School of English, Media and Performing Arts, and I'm studying new media networks and particularly the potential these new media networks have for realising new modes of knowledge production and discovery and distribution. I was always interested in music production, and that was really what led me into becoming a sound effects editor in the film industry. I was really interested in moving beyond that industrial mode, particularly in a mediascape that's really rapidly changing. I realised that that had a connection to a political interest as well, because if we had open systems of knowledge production and exchange and distribution, the mediascape would change dramatically. And so I was really interested in extending and developing new media along those lines. How do we connect intensely through media, and how does that make new forms of organisation, governance, and media management and information management? I saw potential there, but I didn't really know how I was going to make the most of that potential. And I think coming back to university really gave me that kind of blue sky approach to media, where I could start to sit back and say, right, what could I do with this? How has it been used in history? How does it shape our relationship with the world, both in the past and what possibilities for the future does it lend in terms of, once again, reconfiguring those relations between each other and the world?
It's early morning at Sydney's Bankstown Airport, and UNSW students are taking to the skies. Once a year under the Flight Experimentation Program, aerospace engineering students team up with student pilots from UNSW Science for a first-hand experience of aircraft behaviour. It's a real school of the air.
This course is unique to this university. Other universities do a bit of flying, but not the intensity that we have. It's very important they get this experience, because if they're going to be designing aircraft, it's important that they realise responsibility inherent in that. And obviously flying brings that home to you fairly aggressively.
UNSW offers Australia's only degree in aviation and one of the country's best degrees in aerospace engineering. Along with the usual lectures, students get to grips with practicalities in the cockpits of the UNSW air fleet. And when your classroom's sitting at 2,000 feet, you need to hang on to your pen.
My name is Joseph Galacci. I'm third year aerospace engineering student. Today we did a few manoeuvres. We started off by doing a 60-degree bank turn, which we were experiencing 2 Gs load on our bodies. Then we performed a negative G loads, which was quite fun.
It's very important for engineering students to get an awareness of what flight operations are all about. So this week does 2 things. One is it introduces them to flight operations, and secondly, it introduces them to the actual handling of the aircraft.
Throughout their degree, aviation students gain a grounding in basic aircraft engineering. The week-long flight experimentation program helps them build a working relationship for the future with aerospace engineers.
I'm Rachel Hall, I'm 21 years old. I just finished the Bachelor of Aviation flying stream last year. Taking the engineers up this week it's actually been a really great experience. This is the first time I've taken passengers other than just my instructor. It's been really interesting and very constructive for my flying, because I've also had to multitask a bit, talking and setting stuff up how they want it, and then keeping an eye on what's happening outside.
While they're flying, they're carrying out experiments. These experiments are to find out various characteristics of the aircraft and how it operates.
We did a few flight experiments in which we took down a number of data points at different altitudes and speeds. It's going to allow us now to calculate loadings on the aircraft at different bank angles.
Well, most of these students become designers, and I guess the most important thing is that they'll be aware of the responsibility that designing an aircraft has. Others will go into operations side working for the airlines, and they also need to be aware of that. So probably more important than the technical stuff they learn is an awareness of the responsibility that aerospace engineers have.
And for the aviation students, it's another valuable part of a holistic approach to the industry, which will pay dividends throughout their careers.
By doing a degree, firstly, the university has an extremely high standard of professionalism and training that they provide the students with. So I think our level of competency in the air is a lot higher than a lot of other pilots, so we're safer, we've got a better understanding of how everything works.
it's these slight experiences that make you enjoy the course that you're in a little bit more, and I think that's what we need. We need a little bit more kind of depth and view as to what our field kind of involves.
We see a lot of grins both when they go and when they come back, and you know, it's an achievement to them in a way to have completed the operation.
What was it like? Unbelievable. Yeah. It was amazing. It's a great pilot.
I leave at 90 point runway right, connect tower. Apparent limit.